Hello there! What's up, everyone? I'm Anik. I'm a classical pianist, and I hope you can all hear me well. It's the first time that I'm doing a live stream again for a quite long time. I feel like every time I want to do more live streams, I want to do more videos, but in the end, it's taking so much work to do all this stuff. So I'm very sorry, but I'm happy to be here today with you. Actually, I hope you all had a great day or are having a great day, depending on wherever you come from. Tell me in the live stream chat. We are going to watch a little documentary today together on YouTube, Making a Child Prodigy. I saw this thumbnail a couple of times now, and actually it is a video that performed quite well, at least in Germany, in German. It had more than 800,000 views in just 3 months. So I got the thumbnail recommended all the time, again and again. So yeah, I didn't watch it yet, but I thought maybe it could be nice to watch it together with you, because I think this topic is always kind of interesting. It's fascinating people, this whole topic around child prodigies. And very often, I'm not really a fan of calling someone a Wunderkind or a child prodigy, because very often it feels a little bit like it's downplaying all the work that is behind it, because of course you can be extremely good in something in a very young age, of course, but still normally there is a lot of work behind it. So I thought it's going to be interesting to watch this video. Also, I saw in the preview that David Garrett is going to be there. I only know a little bit about him, but I remember that people told me that he was also considered to be a Wunderkind, a child prodigy. So that's going to be interesting. I guess my times of a child prodigy are already over, if I ever could. Now I'm 28, so I guess it's too late now to call me a child prodigy, even though it would be cool. But maybe, the title of this video is Making a Child Prodigy. So if at some day I'm going to be a mother, at least they will tell me what I have to do to make my child prodigy. Whatever. Yeah, tell me in the comments when you actually started to play piano or to play an instrument, because I guess to become a child prodigy, you have to start when you're a child. So actually, what is the definition of child prodigy? Let's look this up first before we watch the video. Let me just get you here. So, child prodigy. A child prodigy is defined in psychological research literature as a person under the age of 10 who produces meaningful output in some domain at the level of an adult expert. Okay. The term is also applied more broadly to young people who are extraordinarily talented in some field. Okay, well then, when it comes to music, I would say my humble opinion that I would say that you can't really achieve the depth inside of the music as a child. So I think it's more the second part of this definition that they are normally using for child prodigies, except maybe of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, because he was from all the musicians in history, I guess he was really a Wunderkind. That would be my definition of a Wunderkind. And since then, I don't think that we had something like Mozart again. So I'm seeing here now in the comments, people started at 8, at 6, at 16. I'm sorry, at 16, you're not going to be considered as a child prodigy anymore. If you started at 10, also it's going to be very, very difficult to be considered as a child prodigy, I guess. So you'd have to start really early. Me personally, I started when I was 5 years old, and I did go to competitions when like starting at the age of 7, and I won a couple of competitions, but nobody ever called me a child prodigy or a Wunderkind, so I guess it doesn't count. Yeah, but from many people that I know out of like this whole music industry, or the classical music industry, most of the people are starting very young, like at around 4 or 5 years old, and are starting to learn an instrument, especially like piano and violin. These are like the competition in these two instruments are extremely high. So it's also important to start quite early, because the chances to become really good in them later in your life are relatively low. Like you can still become really, really good. It's just the problem that the competition is that high, and you are competing against people who already learned piano for 5 years and starting at an age where learning was a different thing for you. Like when you're a child, you're just learning differently compared to when you are a teenager or a young adult or an adult. So things are just sometimes a little bit easier as a child to learn. So yeah, like sometimes I'm getting asked by a lot of people if they can still learn piano and become really, really good in it at the age of 16 or later. And of course you can still become really good. It's just it's just going to be really, really hard for you to go in a professional way, because as I said, you're competing against people who already have like 10 years of experience of playing piano. And just, it's a lot of competition there. Okay. I also see people starting at 27 and 30. That's really cool, guys. Like, I mean, it's so cool to see people who are finding their passion a little bit later, but therefore they are really like fascinated by this instrument. I love to see that. By the way, for everyone who is new here, I'm going to play my album release concert very soon on the 6th of October in the Liederhalle Stuttgart. For everyone who is coming from here or around here or just wants to come, you'll find tickets and information in the link in the description box of this video. But we are going to get started with the videos soon. I just checked the comments again. Valentin wrote, how hard do you think it is to get into music university in Germany when wanting to become a piano teacher? Actually, we have like different programs for studying music. But in the beginning, if you want to study, like if you want to become a piano teacher, you have to study normal bachelor, master piano, basically, or bachelor is probably already enough. And therefore, you have to do the same entrance exam as like all the concert pianists are doing. There's a fly. And yeah, so you basically just have to prepare like everyone else. And the competition is high, so you better prepare early. Anyway, let's get started. I just have to put on these things. Okay. I hope you can all hear it. Just give me a short feedback and I'll put it back. Hope it's loud enough. Everyone can hear everything. I'll wait for your feedback until we start. Someone asked if I already played in the Carnegie Hall. No, but it's my big dream to play there someday. Thanks. I like my headset too. It's actually pretty cool. Okay, I'm getting the first reactions. Okay, let's get started. David Garrett already here. Let's go.
To manage that at 8 years old, even looking at it today at 42, it comes close to that strange term Wunderkind.
Oh yeah, that was actually pretty impressive. Like, I mean, I'm not sure if I was able to play fast like this when I was 8. Definitely not violin because I never played violin, but I should try to find some videos when I was young. I don't think that I have any of them. Like back then we didn't have like all the phones to record everything immediately. We had to actually buy a camera and stuff. So I don't think that I actually have videos from me playing piano that young. Anyways, let's continue.
Musical child prodigies take our breath away. The quest for musical perfection is their top priority.
My goal is to play Carnegie Hall.
The extraordinary talent often appears very early.
I first started playing piano when I was 2. I started playing and composed a whole piece.
Okay, that's crazy. Starting at 2. Shit, I have some serious competition. I started at 5. She has 3 years more practice than me. Damn it. And she can also compose. I mean, you never know, like, really what is true of these stories and, like, how deep they were into it. I mean, you can't really remember what you were doing at 2, I guess. So most of the time it's something that your parents are telling you afterwards. And sometimes, you know, the story is being made very beautiful, even though it was not that great. However, there are people out there who can play piano at the age of 2. Just look at Mozart. No, Mozart even started at 3. She is crazier than Mozart, guys.
The cliché is that child prodigies are lonely with few friends and are drilled to perfection.
Yes, we are lonely, but we are not drilled.
Not to cry under pressure, not to shake under pressure. There are kids, 5, 6, 7 years old, who get incredible migraines after concerts. I did too.
So how much miracle is there in highly talented children? Are they...
Did you see his shoes? I want these shoes.
So how much...
They're so cool. There's light.
miracle is there in highly talented children? Are they born with these extraordinary abilities?
No.
We talked to former child prodigies as well as a human development researcher, a music psychologist and a music historian. German star violinist David Garrett is one of today's most successful crossover musicians. His fusion of classical and pop fills halls and stadiums around the world.
Yeah, that's true. Like, he's extremely successful, and I think it's actually pretty cool what he's doing, because he's he's opening the door for so many people to enter the world of classical music. However, I know that in our classical music scene, there are lots of people who are not really fan of David Garrett, because they know that he was that great as a violinist when he was younger, and to them it is a little bit people say, not me, but people say that he's a little bit wasting his talent and doing cheap stuff that is not coming close to the level of what he could actually perform. But on the other hand, I mean, it's also a little bit difficult to say, because there are so many people who are really playing on a very high level violin, and they are not earning half as much money as he is probably earning with what he's doing. And I mean, he is still playing violin and he is still touching people with music. So it's a little bit difficult. I don't know. What do you think about David Garrett? Tell me in the chat or in the comments later.
For me, music has always let me breathe, given me energy and joy. The violin was a means to an end. I was good at it. I learned to...
Someone asked what I mean with cheap, if like cheap in a sense of pop music. Not necessarily. Like pop music can also be very complex if it wants to be, but normally not. It's just that if you look into what he's then actually playing on the violin, it's like, I mean, what he was just playing there is like yum bum 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 bum, like 2 notes. Like you can do more than that. Of course, it's not about how many notes you play. It's, I don't know how to explain it. It's just not getting the depth compared to classical stuff. But like that's a very difficult topic actually, and I had to find my own opinion about that lately as well, because I had to perform Ludovico Einaudi in a concert, and I also didn't really have a high opinion on that kind of music, to be honest, at least in the beginning. I would still not say that I have a very high opinion of it, but on the other hand, I still have to give this composer my respect, because he's touching millions of people nowadays with his music, and he's making so many people wanting to learn piano because of his music. So like, who am I to say, okay, that's cheap, that's bad, or whatever? Of course, like I like other type of music, yes, but it's still good what he is doing, and it's right to be there. Okay. Yeah, someone wrote, I think David Garrett is a little bit like Lang Lang in piano, more an entertainer than a musician. I mean, Lang Lang is still giving like pure classical concerts. I don't know if David Garrett is doing this at all. Like he's always having like this pop crossover thing with a huge show behind him, as far as I know, while Lang Lang is still like performing solo on stage like a classical pianist. But I understand what you mean. I mean, like the way he's playing is a lot with a lot of show, let's say, without saying anything about the quality of his playing. But yeah, I would still say that probably Lang Lang is still more in the classical, like still more accepted in the classical scene, even though there he also receives lots of critics. But that's another topic. Maybe I should do a video about that. Let me know in the chat.
To play fairly quickly. Of course, I also worked hard.
His journey with the violin began at 4 years old. Father Georg recognized his son's talent and started teaching him.
Oh, that's actually something that I see very often. Like that, I mean, that was also the case with Mozart. If you have someone in your family that can already see that you're having a talent in that field and then can also support you in that field, that's going to be like the perfect match, because you get the biggest support that you can get. That was a little bit different for me because I'm not coming out of a musician family, and I always was a little bit jealous of the other children that came from a musician family, and that, you know, at dinner you would talk about music in these families, and when I'm in my family having dinner, we are talking about, I don't know, math, chemistry, physics or something, but definitely not music. Anyway.
David took giant steps and gave his first solo concerts with an orchestra at the age of 9.
Again, this has a lot to do with the fact that he has probably a professional musician as father. It sounded a little bit like this. I don't know exactly, but I saw this with other children as well. As soon as you have a professional musician in your family, the steps going into like these these professional stages and having like huge concerts with very professional orchestras are so much easier than if you come from a non-musician family and you're not getting these chances, even though you might be on the same level as that child prodigy. You're just not getting the chances, and that's a little bit unfair. But I mean, on the other hand, if I had a child and I had these connections, I would also do it. So, anyways.
You're very aware of all the hours you've spent on each note, that you've worked really hard for it.
Working hard on the notes is one thing, but what makes a child prodigy?
Your parents.
There isn't any doubt that the children have natural capabilities that are very rare. It also requires the efforts of those around the child to be equally focused and equally dedicated and equally wise about how to support and promote that talent.
David's father invested in him. His career broke records. At 13, he was the youngest musician ever to be signed by renowned classical music label Deutsche Grammophon.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. Like, if you have the connections through your parents or through other family members that recognize your talent, things are going to be so much easier. I'm not saying that it is easy what he was doing. It's just so much easier than for people who are not coming from a musician family, but still, as I said, are on the same kind of level. It's a little bit like Nepo babies in classical music. I mean, having a contract with Deutsche Grammophon at the age of 13 is crazy. And I mean, he definitely deserves it because he did have an awesome level at that age already. But in the end, it's really a lot about marketing and connections. Someone asked, do you think some people are genetically dispositioned to be musically talented? I mean, I think there are people, actually, like I saw people who are just not capable to listen correctly. Like, it's a little bit difficult to explain, but I'm giving online masterclasses, and there is someone who really wanted to learn with me. I mean, I'm normally not accepting everyone, but this guy, he just couldn't stop asking. So at some point I said, okay, let's work together. And now we are working already for a while. And every time we try to work with metronome, it's just not working. Like he can't play together with metronome. And that's, to me and to millions of other people, it's not difficult. Like, you can just clap together with metronome without problems. You can dance in the right beat and so on. But there are a couple of people who are just not capable of doing this. And I think if you can't feel the pulse correctly, then it's becoming really, really difficult to also understand music and to feel the music correctly. And then there are also people who just can't hear the right spaces between notes. Like, for example, when you're trying to sing a melody and you're just completely off and you can't hear it yourself. I don't think that these people can't enjoy music. Like, I think everyone can enjoy music. It's just that I think that these people maybe should not go, try to go in a professional way in music, because it's obviously there is something lacking. Someone wrote tone deaf, for example. That's not completely true, because Beethoven was deaf. Of course, he became deaf in his later age, but I think in his case it might have also helped him to overcome some boundaries of the piano, actually, of the instrument itself, because the instrument was not sounding the way it sounds today. And actually, there are some critics of his time that would say that his sonatas sound awful, because the instrument just couldn't keep up with what he composed, actually. So I think like his imagination inside of his like inner ear and inside of his brain was so strong, and this brought out like this huge musical compositions. And maybe, who knows, like maybe if he still could hear at that time, maybe he wouldn't have wrote all these great things later. Anyway, let's go. Let's continue. I'm talking so much.
For several albums, David has worked with stars like conductor Claudio Abbado, Zubin Mehta and violin virtuoso Yehudi Menuhin. Did it feel like a burden to you growing up?
Jeden Tag.
Every day. Absolutely. No kid willingly sacrifices the time it takes to reach the top. There's always someone in the background, whether it's the mother, the father, or the teacher.
That's true.
One of those three is always there, slipper in hand.
What's it like to be a gifted child? Can they still have a childhood?
In my case, it was my mother, and I love her for that.
In Petershagen near Berlin, Miles and Maddox govern the family's daily life. Simona Marsolek is driving her sons to piano and violin lessons today, one of 7 lessons per week. She says she often gets judged.
Okay, 7 lessons per week is crazy. I had 2. Damn. 7 lessons. How many lessons do you get per week? Do you actually get lessons? Are you actually a child prodigy?
I get labelled as a pushy mother who keeps her poor kids away from life and forces them to practice the piano and violin. I've also seen someone on Facebook say the best way to make money is with small children. People ignore the fact that it takes money, time and nerves.
That's true. I can remember that people would say this about my mom or about my parents as well. But it was like my mom, she would always ask me and my siblings as well if we really want to play piano, but especially me. Because of course there were times when I didn't want to practice piano, like when I was, I don't know, 8, 9, 10. I didn't understand why I should practice so much, because around me at that time, like in this little town where I come from, there are not so many people who are really good in playing piano, let's say. And especially like children were not pushing that hard. So at some point I was really wondering, okay, why am I the one who has to push that hard? I mean, I'm already on the top, let's say. So I don't need to push harder. And then luckily my parents, they brought me to Stuttgart, to a bigger music university where there's also a class for talented children. And there I got a reality check. And suddenly it was not a problem to memorize things again. Yeah, okay, I see. Most of you have 1 lesson per week. Some have 2. Someone even has 3 lessons. You are coming very close to become a child prodigy. Oh, damn. By the way, for everyone who just entered, I'm going to play a concert, my album release concert. And you can also pre-order the CD by signing up to the pre-order list. I think I didn't write the link there. Anyways, but if you come from Stuttgart or around Stuttgart, I'm going to play all Chopin etudes, which I started at the age of 8. At a childish age. Anyways, I'm going to play all Chopin etudes in the Liederhalle of Stuttgart on 6th October. The link is in the description box. Go and check it out. And we'll check this video out.
They see what they want to see.
Yeah, and many people are also jealous, let's be honest.
Nurturing her children's talents is a full-time job for this single mother. In Berlin, concert pianist Elisaveta Blumina has been teaching Maddox and Miles for about 4 years. The boys cannot imagine living without piano and violin.
If we see, like here, that there's nothing without music, then I have to do everything to make sure that they have the groundwork to decide later if they want this or not.
Elisaveta Blumina. Do you know her? I don't know her. She's a concert pianist, but I mean, there are so many concert pianists, so let's check her out. Elisaveta Blumina. Wikipedia. That's good. Let's see. She was also the daughter of a pianist. She was a ballerina. Okay. Let's see. Oh, she studied with Radu Lupu, Andras Schiff, Barbaros Skoda. I don't know who is Evgeny Korolyov. Anyways, but these three are really big names. And she won the International Johannes Brahms Wettbewerb. Okay. Well, I mean, she did definitely have great teachers. About the competition stuff, I mean, nowadays it doesn't really count anymore. Nobody's really looking at this, I think. Anyways, let's continue. So she must know a lot if she had these three teachers, I think.
Letizia Hahn has known this focus on music since childhood. The 19-year-old has already performed on many major stages.
She's 19? She looks so much younger. Anyways.
And is considered a highly gifted pianist. Her brother, 13-year-old Philip, is also a talented pianist.
In a normal week, we practice a lot. We have rehearsals, sometimes concerts. We spend 3, 4, sometimes 5 days at the university in Belgium.
The siblings are multi-talented. Letizia started school aged 4 and finished high school at 14.
Ooh.
She studies at a conservatory in Belgium, as does Philip. They've never known the kind of schooling that other children have.
The way I'd describe my time at school is that I always stood out. I only had to say half a sentence, and everyone knew I was a bit different.
Annette and Christian Hahn arranged their lives around their children's needs.
I mean, yes, people would also tell me I'm a little bit different, but just because I was laughing a lot like crazy. So probably they wouldn't expect that I was playing so much piano, but more like crazy.
They have to be flexible in their work hours, or intensive support would be impossible, and that takes energy.
They normally play about 60 concerts per year. Right now there are more abroad, in Japan, China and South America.
Maddox practices the piano 3 to 4 hours a day. He repeats the variations on a theme by violin virtuoso Paganini until every note is perfect. There's hardly a music competition he hasn't won, and has accumulated more than 100 prizes so far.
I never get to the point where I'm completely happy with the way I play.
Maddox is a fast learner and has an insatiable hunger for knowledge.
I mean, these camera shots are probably really awful, very awkward. I mean, you have a camera directly in front of you and just staring at it without saying anything or doing anything, even smiling or something. Poor child. Anyways.
He needs to work on complex tasks, and even as a toddler, that was already challenging for his parents.
He got bored, which often turned into screaming and tantrums that would sometimes last for 20 minutes. You could see that he just didn't know what to do with himself. But his godfather told us he's under-challenged. He needs activity and input for his brain. He's so smart that he needs a different stimulus.
And that's where music came in. At the age of 3, Maddox played his first melodies on the piano.
It may even be, although there's no way to know this for sure, that child prodigies in music have, as a natural endowment, a preference for music as their primary way of communicating with the world, more than speech and language and more than any other area.
That's actually kind of true. I mean, like, I could read the scores before I could actually read a normal book, actually read, basically. So, I mean, music is like a form of language, a form of communication. And if you start that early with making music, it's like starting to speak in a language and to understand a language, just as like you're learning your mother language or your mother tongue. So it is kind of like your preferred way to communicate. And I sometimes do have the feeling that I can't express myself in words, but much better in music. But that's maybe also because I'm just really bad with words. Oh, someone is asking, Rachel Borka is asking, what happens with them when they are not children anymore and the other not prodigies are doing the same at the same age, at like 20 to 22? It must be bizarre for them to be surrounded with the same. Yes, I think it must be strange for them to see that there are also other people doing the same and being also really good. But on the other hand, I mean, if you start really early, you will get in contact with the other children that are there also very early. So you, like, when you're participating in competitions, you will see all of them. Like, I remember when I was younger, I went to this national competition in Germany that's called Jugendmusiziert. And I mean, as soon as you're entering the Bundeslevel, the national level, so you're competing against like the best out of everywhere in Germany, you'll see all of them and you will remember the names. And they will be still there when you're like entering university and stuff. So I think you're also introduced to this world very early, normally. Anyway, let's continue.
But whether it's that or not, it's certainly very powerful and it drives them.
At 4, Maddox was already giving his first concerts. And at 7, he played a concert at the prestigious Mozarteum Music Academy in Salzburg, Austria. Maddox and Miles have been taken out of normal schooling. It's a decision that can actually be beneficial for musically gifted children.
I'm not so sure about that. Like, when I was young, there was also, like, my piano teachers, they wanted me to stop going to school, to, like, directly go to university or go to a school that is having, like, this main focus on music. And I was very happy that my parents decided that I should stay in a normal, like, public school and just grow up as a normal child, as a normal girl. And I do think that I benefited from it because I have a normal Abitur. And with that, I can do whatever I want. I can study whatever I want. While I see other people who stopped going to school and went directly to university or whatever, and they are taking a huge risk of not making it in the professional world of musicians because it's still a really, really hard competition out there. And, if you didn't go to school, you're missing a lot in the end. Like, even if I'm not a big fan of school, definitely not. And also the German school system is kind of trash. But, it's you're still learning stuff there. Maybe not from the teachers, but just from being there with other people,
He grasps things faster. He doesn't need to spend 6 hours at school. He can get it done in 1 or 2. That's why we said he doesn't have to do the time in school.
Yeah, well, I mean, so many people could have done the things that we learned in school in just 1 or 2 hours, but it's not only about learning fast stuff at school, I would say. And also, yeah, of course our school system has to change. I mean, they are probably living in Germany. And there are schools that are like supporting more talented children. But on the other hand, I don't think that it's a good idea to take the child out of school. I don't know. Let me know in the chat comments. What do you think? Are you still going to school? I hope so, because as I said, it's really, really risky. Like, don't do that. It's not so good for you.
He can learn at his own pace when it suits him. And that also gives him enough time to prepare for concerts and competitions, since he doesn't have to spend as much time in school.
Yeah. When I had a big competition, I would also get free time from school. Like I would go, my parents would ask the school director to just give me some weeks off so I can prepare properly. Because yes, like if you go to a big competition, a big international competition, you need to practice like hell. Like, you have to prepare a program of 3 hours and keep that in your head. And there's no other way to like do that simultaneously with like writing exams or just, spending 6 hours at school for, let's be honest, nothing. And like staying away from school for a couple of weeks, if you're not that bad in school, like it's manageable. Let's say it should be, I think. Valentin wrote, in Stuttgart there is the Ebelu Musikgymnasium. Yes, I know that one. It's a how do you say? It's a school like especially for talented musicians, like children. Continue? I'm not there, but my music LK is there, and I think it would have been very beneficial going there from the 5th grade up. Yeah, I know about that school, and I know people from there, at least from back then when I was still going to school. And I was also thinking like that would have been so cool to be there and being surrounded by people, like by other children that are doing the same. And yeah, like I think that would have been the coolest thing about it. But on the other hand, like I'm hearing a lot of people are saying like the children that are going to this school are kind of a little bit arrogant and thinking that they're better than everyone else, at least in music, let's say, just because they are going to this school. But they are not in the end. Like it's just a school. Anyways, let's continue.
Their world is not the same as your world or my world. It's a different kind of experience, and it has to be dealt with in its own way, so that they often isolate themselves so that they can focus, and the outside world would look at that as something that is objectionable, but it may be necessary.
David Garrett's father made sure his son's childhood could be completely devoted to the violin. Music education, concerts and studio recordings were the highest priority. He got David both the best teachers and meetings with the most important decision makers in the music industry. In his recently published biography, If You Only Knew, David Garrett describes, among other things, a childhood without children.
I was definitely an outsider. I was a child in an adult profession. It's not usually a profession done by kids. If it were, it would be called child labor. Of course, you can't call it that. But I was only surrounded by adults. I was only 13, but the conversations at the record company were with adults, with the directors, the conductors, the teachers, and the patrons after the concerts. Everyone around me was an adult.
And you never wanted to break away?
From what? I didn't even know I was in something you could break out of. I had no comparison. When you grow up in a shoebox and you don't know anyone outside of the shoebox, that shoebox is the world.
Yeah.
David kept exceeding audience expectations, but that didn't save him from his father's criticism.
Crazy.
He put a lot of emphasis on me understanding very quickly what he didn't think was good. So he always made his own recordings of the concerts.
Yeah, but I wish that I had more recordings of when I was younger, and that someone would have told me that it's good to record yourself because you can watch it, re-watch it, and see where the mistakes are happening. Because I didn't have so many recordings of me, and it took me a very long time to record myself and to dare to look at myself while I'm playing. And after I started to do Instagram, actually, I started to regularly record myself, and I could really see how I started to improve a lot just because I was watching myself and seeing, okay, I'm doing that and that and that, and there's tension and there's a strange accent and whatever, and then you're starting to criticize yourself. And I mean, everyone can criticize you, but in the end you should listen to yourself, right? Anyways.
On the car ride home, we listened to it through the speakers, and of course, he immediately began voicing his criticism. In a hard way, but Mozart didn't have it any easier, nor did Paganini.
Yeah, that's true.
In comparison, I was probably handled with kid gloves. They were beaten black and blue. I'm pretty sure about that.
Not every gifted musician experiences a childhood of pressure and sacrifice. Not all of them become stars, but they do have one thing in common. It's that they've always been fascinating. Throughout history, there have been many musical geniuses whose talent was considered otherworldly by contemporaries, like Bach, Beethoven, and Handel.
People were more religious in the 18th century and associated something divine with the concept of these miracle children. That sentiment is probably a bit lost on us nowadays, although the term miracle is still used to describe them. And I think it still influences our perception of this phenomenon.
No, I think it's just very strange for people to imagine this kind of childhood, because a normal childhood shouldn't be like this. At least this is what people say. For many people, a normal childhood should be that children are playing together outside and blah, blah, blah. But there are children out there who really want this and who start to understand very, very early that they have to practice that much if they want to follow their dream. And like out of my own experience and like the ones that I know from like university and competitions and so on, for most of them, for most of us, or the people who are doing this professionally, we are feeling very early in our childhood that we need to do this, like, and we want to do this, and there is no other way around it. And of course, it sounds a little bit sad to other people that we are not there with many friends and going to parties or whatever, but I would like to say it's not really needed, but of course you need some kind of social interaction. But on the other hand, it's maybe not something that you, like, these people are really enjoying that much, like a normal, whatever normal is, a normal childhood. So I don't know. It's, I think there are just many, many people who can't really put themselves in these shoes, and this is why it looks like a miracle to them. But in the end, it's just a lot of crazy work. Let's be honest. Someone asked if I'm also playing other instruments. Actually, no. Like, the piano is occupying me so much. If I have the time, I'm practicing 6 to 8 hours every day. Sometimes I'm lacking the time because I have so much other stuff to do now. Crazy what you have to do as an adult. Yeah, so Mr. Broom wrote, the problem with putting all eggs in one basket when you are a musically gifted kid is that even outstanding musicians doesn't earn millions. Effort and risk is much higher than the outcome. That's true. Like for 99% of musicians, you're never going to earn so much. And as I said in the beginning of this live stream, I think that David Garrett probably, like at least financially, economically, did the right decision to kind of leave the classical tradition and go into this crossover thing, because there is like much more money to make. And I do think that the classical industry has to start to think about other ways, because we can't continue like this. Like, our audience is dying. Anyways, apropos audience, for everyone who is new here, whatever this is, I'm going to play a concert soon. I'm going to play my album release concert with all Chopin Etudes in the Liederhalle Stuttgart. Check out the link in the description box for tickets and more infos. I would be very happy to see you there. I'm very excited for that concert. Okay, let's continue.
One child prodigy most people will know is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Born in 1756, he wrote his first compositions at the age of 5. His father Leopold recognised his son's extraordinary talent early on and began to promote him publicly.
Yeah, but again, it's the same story. Like, there's someone in your family seeing what you're doing is really promising, and then marketing starts. Marketing, guys. That's the way how you do it.
There's a letter from Leopold Mozart where he basically says that a miracle had taken place in Salzburg, that God had caused a prodigy to be born there. His choice of words makes me think of the Nativity story, with a kind of musical savior having entered the world. It's like Instagram. It was all fake, even back in the 18th century. He just used these stories to fill the newspapers, to create some buzz.
Yeah, but
Creating an image.
it's marketing.
Absolutely.
Could the whole concept of the child prodigy just be the result of a clever PR campaign? His father
Yes.
made a profit by taking 7-year-old Wolfgang on extensive concert tours.
There's no doubt that Leopold Mozart was a shrewd businessman. He wrote somewhere, "We must do this now because in 2 years' time this aura will be gone." The older Mozart gets, the more his child prodigy status will fade.
And that's something that still counts until today, which is sad. Here comes a story of me being, how old was I back then? I think I was like 21 or something. Can't really remember. 21, 22. And I played a concert, and my very first piano teacher was there. She was kind of, I don't know, struggling with her life or whatever, and she had no better things to do to tell me that I am too old to become a successful pianist now, which is stupid. Like, it's just stupid. Let's be honest. Like, how are you going to be a successful pianist at the age of 21 if you don't have all the connections given to you by birth? Like, anyways, and I'm still playing concerts. October 6th in the Liederhalle Stuttgart. Just in case my first piano teacher is listening. I'm playing all Chopin Etudes. Come. Anyways, let's continue.
Leopold Mozart knew that he had to act quickly.
Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, the prototype of a child prodigy, also in terms of his talent.
There's a long history, for example, of trying to portray Mozart as having had gifts that were protean across many different fields. The reality is that Mozart was unbelievably gifted in his musical talents, but he wasn't particularly adept in anything else.
Yeah.
And that's more typical of the child prodigy.
Star conductor Daniel Barenboim made a name for himself in childhood, both
Oh, yeah?
as a piano player and a conductor.
Oh, I didn't know
He
that.
was already studying conducting at the age of 10, but is reported to have once said that he was never a child prodigy. He merely got off to an early start.
Gute diplomatische Formulierung, klar.
To put it diplomatically, if you take someone who is wonderfully talented and combine that with a lot of work, it can come across as if it's something incredible.
Yeah.
Unglaubliches ist. Wenn man sich allerdings mit den
But once you have a look behind the scenes and you know how much work goes into it, it doesn't seem like a miracle at all that they became a child prodigy.
Exactly.
Kind überhaupt nicht vor wie ein Wunder.
It would be a miracle if they didn't get to that level with that amount of work. I mean, if you spend so much time in practicing and learning and lessons and whatever, and you still can't get that level, it's just a little bit sad, because then it's like, whatever.
But how exactly can we define a prodigy? And is there such a thing as natural talent? Can any child become a musical wonder?
It's just not true that you can take any child, and if you work hard enough at it, you can produce the highest levels of achievement.
I don't think that you can make a child prodigy in music out of every child. But I do believe, maybe I'm wrong in that, but I do believe that every child comes with a talent in something. It doesn't have to be music. It can also be math. It can be physics. It can be, I don't know, building things, inventing things, having crazy ideas. Like, I think everyone has their spot, their kind of talent in something. And maybe some of these things are more easily to find, like finding an instrument. I mean, most of the parents let their children learn an instrument at some point, compared to other things where you maybe find the door very late in your childhood, or maybe even like in your adulthood or something. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Is everyone kind of talented in something, or do you think that there are people who don't have, like, who are talentless? Like, I mean, that would be kind of sad, don't you think so? Anyways.
It just is not true.
Interestingly, a child's IQ plays little to no role in explaining musical talent. Professor Feldman defines a musical prodigy as someone who, from the age of 10, can perform at the same level as an adult professional.
What this means, you can be extremely good in playing an instrument, but you can still be stupid. They said that it has nothing to do with IQ. That explains a lot in my case.
And has the necessary dispositions.
One of those is that the child has a natural affinity for music and a natural ability to perform, to compose, or to be in the musical world. In addition, the child has to have discipline, has to have a tendency to focus and to be persistent.
The Wunderkind needs to have the...
I think this word with discipline is something that I heard it very often in my case as well. Like, people would say, you are so disciplined and so on. But honestly, I don't think that I'm so disciplined. Yes, I'm practicing a lot, but that's because I'm passionate about something. Like, for the rest of my life, you can see that I'm definitely not disciplined. Like, I'm only putting the work into it if I am convinced that there's something waiting for me. I don't know how to explain, but like, I have to be passionate about something to really keep on going. If I don't like it, I will not continue doing it over and over and over again. And this is why I have to find like sports that is fun for me to play or to do. And like, I don't know, I could not continue doing a sports that I don't like, but I know that I should do sports, you know. So like, I always go with something that I know that will bring some joy to me. Otherwise, I know that I will not stick with it. And that's the thing. I don't think it's so much about discipline. Even though, of course, in the end, yes, if there are some days where you feel like you don't want to practice, it kind of needs some discipline to still go practice. But this is, I think, the part where you start to divide yourself from the people who do this for a hobby from the ones who do this professionally. If you're doing this as a profession, it's your freaking job. Like, you can't just stay away from your job because you don't want to, you know. You're earning your money with that, and you should know that without practicing, there's no money in the end. So, and yes, you have to understand this in a very young age if you want to become a musician. Let's go.
Potential to achieve outstanding things. However, in order for it to happen, the environment needs to be just right.
This definition of giftedness, that is, having the potential to achieve something great, is pretty much hypothetical. There are lots of ifs and buts, and you need the right conditions. Someone who has just started to play an instrument won't be pulling off a top-tier performance from the get-go. But in some cases, it is possible to see a trajectory forming and predict what the next 5 years might bring.
Behind the scenes, most child prodigies have highly invested parents. They are the ones that, with their support, see their children progress in the vital first stages of development. Would you settle for first violin, or is solo the only option?
Only solo.
Only solo. And if that doesn't work out, what then?
It'll work. And if not, well, I don't know.
Ah, that's a bad answer. Bad answer. Even though, of course, in her case, yes, it worked. So good for her. But I know many people where it didn't work. And they brought the same answer. And she's like one of a million where was lucky enough that it worked. But let's be honest, like 99.9999999% of the time, it's not going to work. And then you should have a plan B. Like, please, guys, everyone who wants to become a professional musician, have a plan B.
Anna-Sophie Mutter was right. She's been at the very top tier in the world of violin for almost 4 decades now. Anna-Sophie had her first violin lessons at the age of 5. Since then, she hasn't put the instrument down. Here she is at age 10.
I think if you're lucky enough to discover something early on that makes you happy and have the opportunity to do it professionally, then it doesn't really matter how long you get to be in that profession, be it 10 years or 50 plus.
Her parents fully supported Anna-Sophie right from the start, and at any cost.
I mean, that's also something like you need the financial abilities, because just purchasing an instrument is already expensive. I remember when my parents, I was lucky that my parents bought directly an acoustic piano and not an e-piano or a keyboard or something, because I'm not sure if I would have been so much into the instrument if it wouldn't have been like a real instrument. And also the next step was from an upright piano to a grand piano. It's not this one, but the one that stands behind the camera. And I remember that at that time, I mean, it's a lot of money to buy a grand piano. And at that time it was a question of, okay, are we getting a big family car? Like, we are a big family. We are a family of 4 children. So are we getting a big family car, or are we getting a grand piano? Which is basically for me, because I was the one who was using it the most. And I am so thankful that my parents decided to go with the grand piano when I was 10, because that was really probably the thing that made me go even more serious into this thing. So thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. What about you? I mean, also the lessons were quite expensive at some point. Like when I went to Stuttgart into this extra class for talented students, I got extra classes as well. And I on top of it, I got private lessons, and all of it was a lot of money that would accumulate in a month. So I'm very thankful that my parents let me do it. But again, as I said, like, you have to have these financial abilities, and that's the other thing that makes it kind of unfair.
We spend a few thousand marks a year on Anna Sophie's musical education. We never force anything on her. We let her develop her skills as she sees fit. She herself wants to be violinist more than anything. Our role is to make sure that she has all the opportunities and can follow the path she wants to take.
Someone just said they bought it for Chantal and you monopolized it. Yeah, kind of. No, like, my sister, she was also pretty good in playing piano at that time. But I remember, I was 10, so she was 12. And just a year later, she more or less stopped playing piano. So for her, it was also already kind of clear that she's not going to continue in that way. Like, it was already from the beginning clear that my sister is not going to be a professional pianist, because she never wanted to be, and she was always into science and insects and all the cool stuff. While me, I was the one who was really much into it. Like, when I was 8, I said the first time I want to become a professional pianist without even knowing what it is, but I just wanted it. Anyway, let's continue.
Anna-Sophie Mutter was just 13 years old when conductor Herbert von Karajan discovered her, becoming her mentor. The beginning of a fairy tale career that continues to this day. Without the initial support of her parents, none of this might ever have happened.
Parents are so important.
The child could have all the talent in the world, and in the wrong family, in the wrong circumstances, with the wrong teachers, it will not happen.
Definitely.
The situation becomes problematic when parents live vicariously through their children. Encouragement and support can turn into drilling and coercion. The childhood of Chinese pianist Lang Lang was one marred by poverty and a despotic father hell-bent on promoting his talented son.
Yes, but it's promoting.
Characterized by ruthless
marketing
discipline and constant fear. Japanese violinist Midori was also subject to immense pressure growing up under a strict and ambitious mother. At the age of 14, she was already working with the likes of Leonard Bernstein, but in her early 20s she suffered a mental breakdown so severe that it took a whole 6 years and several hospitalizations before she could find her way back to music.
Oh, damn.
There's always a danger in putting children under this kind of pressure. It can quite easily become detrimental and not conducive to a successful career. But individuals react to outside influence very differently.
Yeah, I mean, that's some huge emotional damage there. But yes, of course, like, it's sad to hear that there are so many. Like, I heard these stories also over and over again, that there are so many who were pushed into this career who didn't actually, like, initially wanted to become a professional musician, but their parents wanted them to become one. And then they were already so much into it, and they already spent so much time and effort and work and blood and sweat into it, that you can't stop, even though you don't really want to do that, or at least not out of the same reasons. And that's kind of sad, because it's like, it's destroying so much inside that human. So someone is asking if I'm half Asian, and yes, I am. I have a mom, she's coming from Taiwan, which is a great country, by the way. Have you ever been to Taiwan? I love Taiwan. I love especially the food in Taiwan. It's awesome. Okay, let's continue.
How they develop, then, is down to psychological predispositions.
But talent needs to be nurtured. The question facing parents like Simona Marsalek: to what extent? It's undeniable that Maddox and Miles live for their music and their performances. They have toured the globe for countless concerts and competitions, be it in Israel or a competition at London's Royal Albert Hall.
Working with a prodigy is a different kind of parenting than it is for most other children. It means that, for example, a family will sacrifice living where they live and travel halfway across the world to go to the place where they believe that child will have the best opportunity.
For the single mother, caring for not one but two highly talented sons means around-the-clock support.
Yeah, wait, how old are they? I saw that they were participating in Jugendmusiziert, so they must be... I don't know, did they mention it at some point? Do you remember how old they are? Anyways, let me know in the chat. Because I don't want to say it about these children, but in general, I also have the impression that there are lots of parents who claim that their children are like child prodigies or Wunderkinder who actually aren't, who don't have an extraordinary talent. Of course, they are still working very hard, but I'm a little bit tired of all these people, like all these parents coming, my child is a Wunderkind. He's so talented. Like, stop doing that. Yes, they might be talented, but it's also putting them under a lot of pressure. Like, I don't know. And in many cases, it's just not true. I don't know. I think so.
Piano lessons, violin lessons, singing lessons, composition lessons, and all the rest. One day you have to go and get a new bow, the next you have to go get a violin fixed. You have to prepare for concerts and competitions. It's a lot to do.
Does that leave any time for you?
No time for me.
Miles and Maddox were made for the stage, and it's already clear to them where they are headed, all the way to the top.
We'll be on the big stages soon enough. My goal is to play Carnegie Hall.
Oh, that's so
But
cute.
a career isn't guaranteed in this highly competitive world. Most child prodigies say goodbye to the idea of becoming a professional musician before they reach adulthood.
That's true.
You have to know what to do with that kind of talent, how to use it for something that fulfills you and makes you happy.
Today, as a young adult, Letizia Hahn is sure of one thing. Being a pianist is her calling.
I want to share my music with the world because it's what I enjoy. It's how I express myself. It's a kind of language without words. If, as a mother, I don't support my children in what they do, that's destructive, and we didn't want that.
David Garrett had to learn to withstand the daily pressure from his parents. After all, an international career in music requires perfection day.
Damn, that was in 1995. I was born in that year. He was already that good. Crazy. How old is he? Anyway, I thought he's not that much older than me, but he must be.
Day after day.
Who am I to criticize how my parents raised me when it's made my adult life so much easier? It's essentially an ethical question. Would you rather have a relaxed childhood only to struggle through the rest of life afterwards? Or do you say, okay, maybe my childhood wasn't ideal, but life got easier afterwards because of it?
That's so true. And I'm so happy that he's mentioning this. Because, yes, of course, like, in the end, like, everyone is like, oh, this poor child and so on. But in the end, if it works out for you and you are going to end up in the top 10 of the world, your parents did everything correct. Like, of course, every parent is doing some mistakes at some point. There's no perfect parent, but still, like, I think he's very correct at that.
To me, that.
But as a child, you can't consciously make that kind of decision.
I mean, question to you. What would you prefer? Would you prefer having a childhood that's easygoing and relaxed and normal, but then struggling later in adult life, or the other way around, like having a tough life as a child and being like really pushed to the max, but therefore have lots of success early on and like having an easy life in adult years. I wouldn't say that his life is that easy, to be honest. Like there must still be a lot of pressure for him. I mean, everyone who is performing on stage has to deal with pressure, I guess, and stage fright and whatever comes with it. But of course, if you build up a name for yourself very early, things will be kind of easier at some point, I think. So, yeah. What would you prefer? Easy childhood and struggling life in adult, or other way around? Tell me in the chat. Tell me in the comments.
Decision on your own.
True, but I also can't look back and say it was the wrong decision.
That was it. That was the documentary. How did you like it? Tell me in the comments. What did you think about that? I think it was a quite nice video. Let me go back. Whoops. Where do I get back here? Blah. Ah, now I'm back. Yeah, I like the video. There's a lot of truth inside of it, and I think the main thing that we can get out of it is you need contacts, you need parents that help you, that push you, that give you this financial stability and give you connections. In the end, because like sometimes I was wondering, there are so many people playing piano out there, and like if you are in this industry, at some point you discover that not necessarily the ones who are the best in terms of technique, in terms of understanding the music in depth and creating the most outstanding interpretations, these are not necessarily the one who are going to end up in the top 10 list. It's most of the times it's the people who were promoted very, very well and who just got lots of marketing, who were, just as David Garrett said, the right time, the right place. So, I mean, there are millions out there who can play piano very, very well, and also like maybe hundreds of thousands of people who play it on a extremely high professional level, but you don't hear from these people. Why? Because they didn't get the same promotion as other people. So okay, let's see your comments about that. Kmoglion was saying, I was avoiding watching it because I was expecting it to be a lot cringier than it was. I also thought it's going to be much cringier. I would have thought that I would present maybe children that were not that talented. Anyways, but all the children in this documentary, they seem to be very sweet and very much into music. And I would like to know what how it turns out, how their life turns out to be. Like if they are still in music 10 years later, especially like these two little brothers. I mean, they are still extremely young. I forgot to look up. Did you write to me, or do you remember how old these brothers were? I can't remember, but they seem to be very, very young. Maybe 5, 6 years old. So let's see where they are in 10 years and if they are still wanting to go in the professional way. Or maybe they found something else in life, and that's not tragic at all. And I actually think that, no matter what you're doing, if it's like playing an instrument, doing a sports or whatever, and you're pushing very hard into it from very, very early on, you're learning so many things just by doing this and going so deep into it. You're learning so many things about life, about work ethics, that you probably wouldn't learn if you have a normal childhood and just normally going to school or whatever, where you don't have to push that hard. At least that's my opinion. What do you think? Let's check out some other questions. Burak Dalkilic said, would you grow your children as professional musicians? I did think about this a lot, to be honest. Like, I don't have children yet, but maybe someday I would like to have children. But I don't think that I would suggest them to go this direction. I mean, I know how hard it is to be a professional musician. I know how much time, how much work it costs, how much you have to sacrifice for this. And in the end, you're not earning that much as a professional. Like, at least normally, like most of the professional musicians do not earn so much later. Like, only this little percentage of people who are playing on the top places in the world, they are probably earning quite a lot, or definitely enough to live just from playing concerts. But most of us, we're not living just from concerts, and you have to know so much more about like being a musician. And I don't know if I want my child to do that. Like, you can also push very hard into other topics. I don't know, science, or I don't know, something where you can also make a lot of money out of it later if you are really, really good in it. Or even if you're just average in it, you can make more money than being on a high level in music. So I would want them to go to another direction. But if I see that my child has an extraordinary talent and is a real Wunderkind, I'm going to promote him on my YouTube channel. I'm going to make him the Wunderkind, the new Mozart of 2000 whatever. I don't know when I'm going to have children, but yeah. I mean, what about you? Would you want your children to become like child prodigies, to become professional musicians? Tell me in the comments. And are you yourself a professional musician, or your parents? That would be also very interesting. Miracle Max asked, hopefully as a talented child, you won't have to sacrifice everything in your childhood, and yet you can still enjoy some things in normal childhood. I think that it's very important to still have some kind of normality in your childhood, and this is why I'm very thankful that my parents still let me go to a public school and finish school like normally, because it also brings you down to earth, or how do you say that? Like, you're sometimes when you're isolated and you are like in your own little bubble, and like everyone is calling you the child prodigy, the Wunderkind, and so on. You at some point, I think there is a danger of feeling extremely good in what you're doing, even though you might be not as good as you think you are. Like, you might be not the top of the world yet. And at some point there's going to be the reality check. Also, especially when it comes to music, you have to have some experience in life to feel specific emotions. Like, if you never had a heartbreak, if you never had a crush on someone, you will never be able to play Chopin's second movement out of his first piano concerto in a touching way. Of course, you can play the notes. You can play everything clean and perfect, but it's not going to touch the audience, because you just can't recall this feeling that should be there. And if you never felt these things, I believe you can't express it to the audience. That's just my opinion. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Well, so many comments I have to... Yeah, WP Music said making a living from albums is probably not an option at this point in time. That's true. And this is why I asked for help to finance my first album, because I know that I probably won't get all the money back that I spent on just recording the album. So you, like, as a musician nowadays, you have to find other ways to make money. That's true. Rocket Henne wrote, just please buy her CD. Yes, thank you. I believe her interpretation of the etudes is kind of special. Thank you so much. I'm feeling very honored. And by the way, for everyone who is still here, if you come from Stuttgart or around Stuttgart or just from Germany or around Germany, I'm going to play my album release concert very soon on October 6th in Stuttgart in the Liederhalle, which is a beautiful concert hall. I'll show you now. Here. Where is it? Really, really beautiful concert hall. Let's go here. Liederhalle Stuttgart. Who knows this? Who knows the Liederhalle Stuttgart? Let me know in the comments. It's really, really nice. So this is the Beethoven Saal. This is the biggest hall there, which I'm not going to play in because I'm sure I already have problems to fill the smaller hall, but this one is even bigger. I think it's more than 2,000 seats inside of there. But someday, I hope I will be able to fill this hall as well and play on this huge stage. It's really, really beautiful. I heard Marta Agerich on that stage. I heard Daniel Trifonov there. Christian Zimmermann. Christian Zimmermann was awesome on that evening. It was definitely the best piano concerto that I ever heard in my life. He played Chopin's scherzos and Brahms' sonata in F minor. It was on point. Really, it was so beautiful. But that's not the hall that I'm going to play in. Oh, this is the Liederhalle from outside, by the way. Why is this so small? Oh, that's ugly. Where can I find a better photo here? I think that's also small. Yeah, this kind of... Yeah, you can kind of guess it. So here's like a big place with grass and you can sit here, and here's the entrance. And there already is also the Mozart Hall, which is also a beautiful hall. Let me find it now. Mozart Saal. Ha! There it is. Isn't this nice? I mean, so this is going to be the piano that I'm playing on, maybe? Like, there are two pianos that I can choose from. And probably this is going to be the one. Oh, thank you, Christopher, for donating. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, by the way, you can support the chat and buy super chats if you have like specific questions to ask or something. Whatever. So this is the Mozart Hall. This is the grand piano, and these are, I think, around 750 seats. So I'm so excited to play there. I don't think it's going to be completely full, but you know, it's still nice to play in this hall. Just to play in the hall is already going to be nice. Here's another picture where you can see from upstairs. So like here, this is upstairs basically. There are more seats, and then there's downstairs. And there is going to be me. Oops. Here. Ha! Yeah. So someone was asking how many seats? 750. I think around 750. And tickets and information is going to be in the description box. You can get tickets on Easy Tickets. Wait, I'll show you very quick. Where you can also... Easy Tickets. There it is. Where you can also search for the right seat, like here. So you can search for a seat that you would like to have. The best seats are, they are not completely gone yet. Like you can still get like good seats here. You can still see a lot from here. And these are acoustically the best seats, actually, because the piano is going to go directly here into the middle of the hall. So that's going to be a nice place to be, just in case anyone wants to come. I'll be very, very happy to see you guys there. And yeah, that's already going to be it. So excited. I have to practice, guys. But not today. It's already 9:30. Someone is asking if I will come to America someday. Actually, there was a concert planned very spontaneously, which we had to cancel again spontaneously. But it would have been so cool to come to Seattle and perform there. And I am planning to do this on my own then. So I am searching for like concert halls that I can just book on my own, and then I will go around in America and play some concerts, probably next year. Thank you, Konstadina Nitrozidu, for your support. Burak Kechili asked, are you planning to give a concert in Berlin? Actually, I took a look at the concert halls in Berlin, and except no one is going to invite me, like, I don't think that I'm going to book a concert hall in Berlin because they are crazy expensive. And I don't understand why. Like, even, why am I so, I don't even have to wear this anymore. My poor ears. What happened? Whoa. Here, I'm back. Berlin is pretty expensive. Have you ever been into Berlin, actually? I always tend to say that Berlin is not really representing Germany. Like, I don't feel that Berlin is really, like, the people living in Berlin are really having the German people vibes. Like, if you look at the rest of Germany, people are kind of different. Thank you, Zheng Hua Xing Shen. I'm sorry if I pronounced everything completely wrong, but thank you so much for donating. That's a cute sticker, actually. Eric Haas wrote, even if there is a lack of emotional maturity, I always get so disheartened when there are tiny kids playing repertoire I can't even touch. How do you keep focus and not getting demotivated? Well, one thing is to just ignore all these things, because, like, honestly, that's one of the things that made me stop going to competitions, even though I won quite a lot of competitions. Oh, thank you, Robert Huggins, for your super sticker. Thank you so much. Even though I went to a lot of competitions when I was younger, and on the one hand, it helped me a lot because there was something that I was working towards through. So, like, during all the process, all the month of preparation, you are learning so much about yourself, about the music, and, you know, just dealing with the stress situation is going to, like, it's helping you. You're learning out of it, basically. On the other hand, and that's exactly that thing, you are starting to compare yourself to other people. And that can be good. Like, especially as a child, I feel like sometimes there's like this sporty thing around it. Like, you want to be faster than others. You want to be better than others. And that's good. Like, it's driving you and it's helping you to, like, become better or to progress. But the older you get and the closer the levels are becoming, like, it's especially in music, it's not really objective anymore at some point. If someone is, like, really better than you or something, it's just very much to the, like, taste of the judge. And also there are some political things going on, which everyone knows, of course, like, and then it just starts to become a little bit ridiculous to participate in competitions. So I stopped, actually. And I think the same counts for your question. So if you feel like you feel so demotivated because there's someone who's much younger than you but playing better than you. Just don't look at it. Or try to think a little bit differently about it. I mean, he also had to learn a lot, and he also had to practice a lot to get to that level. I mean, this is actually one of the points why I started why I created this channel, because I wanted people to see that there's so much work behind the scenes that people are just not seeing. Like you always see the perfect end product on stage, but you don't see what kind of work went into it and how much work went into it. Like how many hours of practicing, how many years of preparation. Like, I mean, for the concert, for my upcoming album release concert, let's be honest, I prepared myself 20 years for this concert. Like, I started my very first Chopin etude when I was 8. So you can really say that I was preparing for that day 20 years. And then comparing yourself to it, who maybe, I don't know, played a Chopin etude for 3 months or something. That's just not fair. Don't be so harsh to yourself, you know. Costas K said, my sister lived in Berlin for a year and I spent a few weeks there. Berlin has great nightlife, but it's generally very different from the rest of Germany. It's a lot like Amsterdam. I've never been to Amsterdam, actually. I wanted to go to Amsterdam when I was giving a concert lately in the Netherlands. I drove through it and I heard that it's pretty cool, but I would like to go there someday. I hope maybe next year I can maybe give a little concert there. And then I can also take a look at the city. The thing with concerts is actually, like, you're getting around in a lot of places, in a lot of cities, but you never really get the time to discover the cities because you have to go again, you have to go to the next concert, you have to go back to practice, you have to go do whatever. So it's a little bit sad, but I'll try to get myself a little bit time off. Point 13 said, thus, classical music is seen as a vehicle only to impress people, killing the spirit in music. I owe this to Liszt and other performances of their era who were concerned first and foremost to impress. Yeah, I mean, when I was a child, I was also very much into it to impress people by playing faster and even more crazy techniques, because it was easy to impress people. And I liked the attention, to be honest. Like, I was really there and I was like, yeah, I want the applause. I want people to come to me and say, wow, you can play so fast. But at some point, you start to understand that it's really not about playing fast. Like, there's so many people who can play fast. But the real technique lays in being able to make this instrument sing, like being able to create emotions, to create a singing sound. That's so much more difficult than any of these fast finger techniques. And that's something like, I wished that we could impress people just as easy with slow and emotional pieces as we can impress them with super fast virtuoso stuff. And actually, Chopin, he was befriended with Franz Liszt, right? So he said at some point that he thinks that Liszt is an extraordinary composer. At least he could be an extraordinary composer. But first he has to calm down and find himself before he can really create the music that lays inside of him. Like, he understood that the stuff that Liszt was composing and playing at the time were mainly to impress people, which is obvious. And later in his life, when Chopin was unfortunately already dead, so he could not see his friend turning into someone who was really writing extremely deep music with deep emotions. And he wrote crazy stuff. I played with a choir, piece by Liszt. I can't remember what the name was, but it was so crazy. Like, I got the scores, and people would tell, okay, you're going to play Liszt. And I was like, shit, I don't have so much time to practice this. Like, it's Liszt. I have to practice a lot. And it turned out to be like one of these works from when he was already much, much older. And he was like calming down and living in a church or something. And like the music that he composed was pretty modern, actually. Like, it was not virtuose at all, but there were crazy harmonies inside of it. And yeah, so it was really completely different from what he used to compose. And yeah, it's kind of sad that Chopin never witnessed that point. Okay, maybe a few more questions and then we can stop today's live stream. But it was so much fun to watch this documentary together with you. By the way, if you want me to do this again, maybe with another video, tell me in the comments or in the chat what kind of video, or if you have a video in mind that you would want to watch together, and just have a watch time together here. And we'll plan another one maybe for next week. Nicholas Constantine said, I like to impress people because I have a super ego. I feel like stage is my home. Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that. And I really think that it is like a thing that everyone sees a little bit different or feels a little bit different. There are people who are just, we call them in Germany, Rampensau, like someone who really needs the stage, who really wants to go on stage and who wants the attention. And then there are other people who don't want it and who actually are shitting their pants to go on stage, which is also fine. It's just a little bit sad sometimes because they are also really, really good in making music or doing whatever they are doing. It's just that they can't really go on stage. It's like my sister, actually. She can go on stage, but not when it comes to playing piano. She was so afraid at some point to go on stage that she was already crying before she even played a note, basically. So, I mean, that was definitely nothing for her. At least not with piano. But in general, she doesn't have a problem to go on stage, like to give a speech or to give a presentation or something, especially about a topic that she's very familiar with. Not a problem. But with piano, somehow there was a problem for her. But actually, I had the same with singing. Like in the first 2 semesters of studying music, because I'm a pianist, I don't need an extra instrument. Like every other instrumentalist has to learn piano and has to have lessons in piano, just a little bit at least. But the pianists, we don't have to learn another instrument. But therefore, we have to go to the university choir for 2 semesters. And actually, I enjoyed it. Like, it was really a nice experience. But here comes the big but, and I cannot lie. I'm really, really bad in singing, actually. Like, I can't sing. I try to sing, but it sounds awful. Plus, I have a deeper woman's voice. Deeper woman's voice. It's called alt in German. I don't know what's called in English. So we have sopran, alt, tenor, and bass. And I was alt. And that's the voice that you barely hear when you're standing inside of the choir. But of course, this one is very, very important. Like all the middle voices are very important. And since the whole choir was like 50% pianists who can't sing, we were like, what are we singing here? And at some point we had to give a concert. Like at the end of the semester, we had to give a concert. And it was the first time for very, very long that I went on stage to sing. Like when I was a child, I also went to a little choir here in my village. But like that was so many years ago. So I had to use my voice in a way that I was just not like really comfortable with. And so I went on stage and the music started and I knew that I have to start singing now. I started singing, it was like, like nothing came out, nothing useful came out. But luckily it's a choir, so I was just like lip syncing the first 10 minutes or something until I calmed down and I found my voice again and I could also sing with the others. But yeah, that's my funny story with singing on stage. What about you? Is there something that you can't do on stage? Tell me in the comments. Gary Foster asked, did you ever learn Fight of the Bumblebee? It's Flight of the Bumblebee. That Fight is also nice. Actually, I did a challenge. Like it was maybe a year ago or something. You'll find it on my channel. There must be a challenge. Just search. You'll find it. Ramo886 is asking, when are you getting your first Lambo or Bugatti with Andrew Tate? I don't need Andrew Tate, but I would have something against a Lambo or Bugatti if I had the money for that. Have you ever been to Hungary? Is there a chance you come here to a concert? Actually, yes, I have been to Hungary when I was 10. I played a concert with orchestra, like Mozart A major. I don't remember the melody right now, but it will come to me. Yeah, actually, that was also, it was a really, really great experience. And in the rehearsal concert for that big concert in Hungary, I had my very first blackout on stage, which was so embarrassing. Like I was playing with orchestra. Everything went fine. Everything went really, really well. But then, so the orchestra played and I knew that I have to start playing now. Like it was, I don't know, like 1-2 minutes before the end. I knew I have to start playing now, but just couldn't remember what I have to play. I couldn't even hear the melody in that moment. Like it was really, really strange. It was real, like the first blackout that I had on stage, and it was to be followed by many, many more. And what happened was that, like, unfortunately, I was not alone on stage. Like, unfortunately, I was playing with orchestra. So what happens is that everyone has to stop. And that's the most embarrassing thing that can happen. Like if the music stops in a very awkward way, like, and then the conductor turned to me and they were like, I don't know what to play. And I couldn't find the notes. And then he turned to me and he gave me his scores. And it was the first time that I saw the scores for a conductor, like the full score with all the voices by each like instrument that's playing. And I didn't know, like, and I never saw this before. I didn't know where is my line, where's the piano line, and how am I supposed to know as a 10-year-old that it's directly in the middle? Yeah, so he had to show me exactly where I have to read. That was super embarrassing. But then, luckily, for the big concert in Hungary, everything went well. It was in Budapest. And yeah, that was luckily like this. And I have to thank my mom for that, because she really worked with me. She sat down with me and made sure that I feel secure on stage. And even though I was still like struggling a little bit, because there is still like some mental thing happening there. When you have a blackout the next time you play and you come to that passage, you know that you're going to struggle. Anyways, so I struggled just a little bit, but I made it through without anything major happening. So that was a good thing. I'm not thanking my piano teacher for that back then, because she actually put me under a lot of pressure She said some crazy stuff, and all in all, like the relationship back then was already starting to be not that healthy anymore. Okay, guys. One more question for tonight, and that's going to be it. Let's see what you have. Jordi Garcia is asking, didn't you have a score for you? No, I was playing everything by heart. That was what I was training for, and I never take scores with me on stage, except if it's like a chamber music concert, or if I have to play very special program that I don't have enough time to practice for. But especially for like all the solo stuff, that has to be memorized. Like, unfortunately, I would like to take my scores with me sometimes. Like, it's I would feel so much more secure on stage. Okay, very last question from Strawberry Freak is favorite teacher. I had 3 teachers only, actually. I know that's not so much. Like, I know people who had much more teachers. And out of all the teachers, I think that my last teacher, the one, like my professor at university, I think that was my favorite teacher out of all. Because we had a really good time, and that it was also the one that I worked the longest with. Like with my first teacher, I was 7 years. The second teacher was also 7 years, and the last one was nearly 10 years now. So yeah, I stood with him a very long time. We understood each other very well, and the longer you work together, the more you just know what the other one means. Like, I just knew what my professor means when he just says one specific word, and it turns me into a specific mood or a specific posture or whatever that would help me immediately to get out the sound that I want to, or that should be there. So that was really cool. For everyone out there, like, if you feel like you have a good professor, stay with him. Stay as long as possible with him until you feel like, okay, you don't really learn anything new anymore, or you just need some change. But I think sometimes people are just changing the professor too quickly, and then you're missing a lot. That's what I think. On the other hand, it's also cool to get lots of different impulses. But then again, you can also stay with one professor and get like all the basics with him or her, and then go to master classes and get your impulses there. That's also a good way to learn. Okay, very last question, because it's very important. Ramo886, I have a question, very important. Puppies or kittens? Definitely kittens. And that's the last question for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. I enjoyed it very much. It was really cool and chilly. So I think we'll do this again, maybe next week, or just the upcoming days, with another video. That would be cool. I'll search for something, or just write it in the comments if you have a video that you really want to watch together, and just hear the comments from this community. Let me know. And we'll see us in the next videos. Bye!